Hello. It's good to see you. Today we're going to be making a Valentine's Day wreath. And the good thing about this wreath is I didn't really have to buy much because I have two big totes full of wreath making stuff, and I went through it and I had almost everything I needed to make it. All I bought was a piece to go in the center and some flowers, and I had everything else already, so that was really good. So for this wreath, I thought initially about doing just purple and white in this wreath, and then I thought, I think you need to work in a little bit of something in addition to that. So what I found in my craft stash was this big roll. This is kind of like a dark purple mesh from Celebrate It. I think this is from Michaels. Pretty sure this came from Michaels. So it's just this really nice purple. I also found, if I don't have enough of that, I found some purple here. This was some left over from Halloween. I don't know which Halloween. It could have been like 2 or 3 Halloweens ago. I don't know, but it's from Dollar Tree, and it has their little crafters square, so it's not too old because they haven't had that little logo for long. It's probably from this past Halloween, and it has some little pumpkins on it. It's not exactly the same color, but it doesn't really matter in a wreath like this. It really does not matter. And also while I was looking, I found this kind of cool. This is like a holographic mesh here, and I thought it would be fun to work some of that into it. So I'm thinking, originally I was thinking of just doing like this. It's not totally white, it's like holographic, but I thought about just doing like these. But then I thought, no, well, we'll do those, but we can also work in a little bit of pink. And I have this decorative mesh left over from a previous Valentine's Day. It has little hearts on it. So I thought I would just go with a little, just put a little bit of pink in there, not a whole lot. I want to do just a little bit to kind of break it up and add just a little bit of extra interest to it. So I have my pink mesh. This is going to be a super simple little wreath that anybody could do if you've ever thought about doing it, or like you want to work with your kids, or do like a kid's craft. I think a kid could handle this pretty easily. There's no, well, pretty much all the wreaths I make are pretty simple. There's not really much to it, and they're all kind of done the same way. I think I'm going to use the sunburst technique, starburst. I think sometimes I call it starburst by mistake, like I'm thinking about the candy starburst. I think the actual name that most people use is sunburst technique. That's where you end up with the mesh kind of drawn out like this. Sometimes we use the roll technique where you roll it up like something you roll up, and it makes the wreath is a little bit more compact. And in a way, to me, it always kind of looks like a clown wig with the way the rolls look. It's okay, but usually I like to do the sunburst technique. And it's a very simple technique to master, and the good thing is once you learn how to do it, you can take that technique and make any kind of wreath you want to. You can change your colors of mesh, you can change the ribbons, the decorations. You could do wreaths for any occasion using that exact same technique. And it doesn't take a lot of materials either. You can make a really pretty wreath for very little money. So basically for this wreath, we're going to go with just like, we're going to do purple and that holographic looking mesh that I found. I was hoping I had some white mesh, but I didn't see like just plain white. I didn't have any of that. So I'm just going to go with the holographic. It's going to have a lot of purple in it. I think it's going to be pretty purple. Sometimes too, I'll get in the middle of making it and I'm looking at it as it kind of takes shape. I'll make some bundles, add them to the wreath form, and I'll kind of look at it and think it needs something else. So I go back up in the attic to where my craft stuff is, and I'll see if I have something. Like I'll kind of start to get in mind, I'll start to think it really needs this. Let me go see if I have it. And usually I can find something in my supplies that would work for kind of what I'm thinking of. So there's that. I have very little ribbon for this wreath. I've been going kind of light on the ribbon lately. But they had this pretty ribbon. It's kind of hard to see. Now this is a 5/8 inch ribbon from Dollar Tree. It's 9 feet. And it's white, and it's like a little thin ribbon in the middle, and then it has little white hearts on either side of it, like that. You'll get to see it more closely once we get down and start looking at how to make the bundles. You'll be able to see it. I'll show it to you. So I bought one little roll of that, and I found in my stash, well, I think this was in my craft. I don't think I just bought this. I think this was in my tote from a previous Valentine's Day. I found this in my tote. This is from the Robert Stanley collection, and it's just a sheer pink ribbon. I had a little piece of tape holding it on the roll. It came loose. So this is, I think this came from Hobby Lobby, I'm not sure, but it's just a very pale pink sheer ribbon, so we can put some of that in there. And I also found this roll of kind of a dark purple ribbon. This was from Michael's, and it looks like I put a rubber band around it to hold it in place. Yeah, I think I bought both of these for something previously, but only needed a little bit of it, so I have quite a bit of this left. I have a bunch of this ribbon on here. And then, of course, I have my wreath form. This is from Dollar Tree. This is their standard 14-inch wreath form. Now, typically when you find these, they're going to be a dark green color. This one is more of like a beige color, but it doesn't really matter. Sometimes you can find them without the enamel on them at all, and they're just sort of a silver. It doesn't matter what kind you get, because once you add all of your bundles and everything to this wreath and the decorations and everything, you won't be able to see this on the front at all. It's not going to show at all. Now your wreath is going to be bigger than this. This is 14 inches wide, but it's going to be quite a bit larger. It's going to stick out on the sides, especially with that sunburst technique. The sunburst technique makes bundles that come out farther. They come out wider like this, and they're going to come in this way too. So they're kind of wide. The rolls aren't going to stick out as far. So it will only be a little bit larger if you use the roll technique. So today we're going to use this wreath form. It has their little floral garden wreath ring tag on it. But you can get these at Dollar Tree, $1.25, which I think is a good deal. And then I have tons of little chenille stems, pipe cleaners. I have them in all colors. I grabbed these 2 packs here because these had some purple and pink in here. We have light pink, we have blush and bashful. We have 2 shades of pink in there and purple. And in here I had even more purple. So for this wreath, I'm expecting to make at least 50 bundles, 50. It may be 55, sometimes depending on the thickness of the mesh, how much mesh you put in each bundle, the thickness of the ribbon. It can be, you might need more or fewer. Typically, you're going to need at least 50 from my experience. So, but for each bundle, you're going to take one of these chenille stems, these little pipe cleaners, and cut them in half. So each one of these will do 2 bundles. So you're going to need 25 to 27, 28. Just call it 30 of these little fuzzy sticks. And you can buy these big bags of fuzzy sticks at Walmart for about $3, or that's how much they were the last time I got them. And you know, I find it's cheaper just to buy a big bag like this. And it doesn't really matter if the color of the chenille stems doesn't match the color of the bundle, because these are not going to show on the front of the wreath. Now if you look at the back, you're going to see them. So I always kind of like for them to match, and I have so many that it's not hard to get the ones I need to match, because I have so many of these. You can also buy these on Amazon in bulk, and it's way cheaper to just get them in bulk typically. So then I get into my decorations, and the decorations are very minimal for this wreath. I had some little flowers in there in my stash. I found these have a bit of a purplish tint to them. And these are some little Dollar Tree roses. And we're only going to be using the top. So now there's a wire in here. It's coated with plastic. I will be taking these little leaves, pushing them up as far as you can get them, and then cutting them about there with my wire cutters. And then I'll just hot glue them into the wreath after I add all the bundles to it. It's a nice color. It has a little bit of white in it. It's cool. It's like little tie-dyed flowers. So I had these. And I also have some white flowers, little carnations. They're very stiff. But again, what I do, I pull them out like this, and that's a wire, so you can pull them out and they stay out. I'm just going to push that up, and I'm going to include that in the wreath. You don't have to. I mean, it's up to you, but I typically will leave it in there and then cut it about right there and hot glue it in where I want it to be. So that's the last step, is putting in the decorations. We always make the bundles and add them to the wreath first. And I always show you what that looks like before I put in the decorations. This one doesn't have a leaf. Some of them don't. But now when you push them up like that, you don't want to push too hard on the flower because it pops off. Because these are Dollar Tree flowers, although most artificial flowers are made kind of the same way, so you can't handle them too roughly. Just treat it like a real flower, except with a real flower you can't reposition the leaves. Here we go, like that. And then this tag is paper, and you can very easily tear this off, although in this case we don't really need to because the leaf is above it, so you can just push it up like that, and then they are ready to be cut and glued into the wreath once I reach that point. And in most of my wreaths, I don't do a centerpiece. I don't put anything in the middle. Of course, you're welcome to put whatever you want to in there. You know, that's the great thing. It's like Bob Ross would say about painting, you know, it's your world. You know, you can do anything here. You know, in your real life, what was it he used to say? In real life, all I get to do is take out the trash or something like that. In real life, all I ever get to do is take out the garbage. But here, I can do anything I want. Something like, I can relate. I think a lot of us can relate to feeling that way. In real life, yeah. Sometimes it seems like that. But here, when you're making a wreath, there are no rules. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Whatever way you want to do it, that's the right way to do it. So I decided in this wreath, I was going to put something in the center of it, and I do what I want. That's my philosophy whenever possible in life. I do what I want. And so I was looking around at Dollar Tree to try to find something to put in the middle. They had a lot of little tabletop decor and little signs that would have been cute in there, but you have to consider the weight of the item that you put in there. You don't want to put anything too heavy in there. Although they did have some really cute little signs, like pet-themed Valentine's Day signs, if you want to, like, you know, mention your pet or whatever. You could take one, and I don't have one, unfortunately, to show you right now, but they have these little wooden tabletop signs, and they're square, and it would be about the right size to put in the middle of a wreath. You could just remove, like, the back. There's, like, wood on the back. It's like a shadow box but backwards, and you could just remove that. It would make it lighter, and it would make it easier to put in the middle of the wreath. And then if they don't have holes in them, some of the metal signs have holes, and you can run a string through there and tie it and secure it to the wreath form. You could try hot gluing it in there, or you could just set it in there. You could kind of just work it in there between the bundles, and it usually will stay unless you're really rough with the wreath. You could do that. What I decided to try this year, and I've never used one of these before. Actually, I don't think I've seen these before. This is one of the only things I purchased to make this wreath. Like, right now purchased. The other stuff I purchased previously. I found these in the Valentine's crafting section at Dollar Tree. It's a big jumbo craft heart. It's an enlarged heart. Normally that's a bad thing, but we're happy about it today. It's puffy and it's solid styrofoam. Look at that. So I thought it would be fun to put this in the middle. And I thought, well, I want it to be purple. You could just leave it like that. I mean, you know, there's already white in the wreath. You could just leave it like this. But I don't like it, you know, it's like styrofoam. So initially, I thought I could paint it like with some purple metallic paint. I thought that would be really pretty. And I was going to try that. But then I remembered that I had some fabric left over from one of the Christmas trees I did just this past Christmas. And I did this tree in dark purple and silver. And I had some strips of fabric left over. I have two types of fabric. This is the kind that you make like workout clothes out of. It was kind of expensive, but it looked really good in the tree. I covered ornaments with it, and it turned out really pretty. So I could use this one, which is kind of sparkly. It may look sort of violet to you, but it's not. It's a dark purple. It's like an eggplant color. So I have this one, which is really cool. That looks really good. It looks like Steven Tyler's scarves. You know, he puts it on his microphone stand. Or I also had this velvet. It's a dark purple as well. Or the back side is actually really pretty too. So you could actually do it either way. And I couldn't decide which of these I wanted to use on this heart. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cover the heart. And really, you're only worried about what it looks like on the front, the part that is going to present on the front of your wreath. You really only worry about what it's going to look like right here. So as long as this looks the way you want it to, it doesn't really matter what the back looks like. It's like the back of your Christmas tree is just, you know, not... Well, mine anyway. I don't really decorate the back. I kind of do, but it's very sad. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some of this fabric. I may even try to incorporate both somehow. I was thinking like do part of it on one part and then do part on the other. It really just depends on how it looks. If I don't like how it looks, I won't leave it. But I can just place it and try to see how it looks before I glue or cut anything, just to see if I like how it looks. And that's the fun thing about these wreaths too. You get to experiment with all different kinds of things. You could maybe use materials that you bought for something else and make something with it. If I don't like the way it looks, I would probably go with this velvet. If I wanted to just use one, I would probably do this pretty velvet fabric over it. But I'm going to play around with it and just see how I think it looks. So yeah, there we have our jumbo craft heart. They have these again, like I mentioned, in the crafting section with their Valentine's Day stuff. They have them now, so if you're interested, that's where that came from. And again, you can see the Dollar Tree, you know, they have the little hearts on their Valentine's Day crafting supplies. So that is everything for this wreath. Again, it's a very simple one compared to some that I've done. Some of them have a lot more stuff in them. This one is super simple. And if you've never made a wreath before, this might be a really fun one to start with. And you can go to craft stores or Dollar Tree and find all kinds of neat things that you might be able to incorporate into your wreath. And you can make it any way you want to. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to sit down and I'm going to show you how to make these bundles for this wreath. I have cut up some of this ribbon. This ribbon is very ornery. All three of these little little rolls of ribbon were kind of tough to work with. This ribbon is really cute. Look at it. This is that white ribbon I showed you. So there's like a little bit of sheer ribbon, and then it has these little satin hearts on either side. It's really cute. But it's very curly, like it doesn't lay flat. It's very curly. I guess because it's been up in the attic for so long, I don't know. Maybe it would have been that way originally, but it's very, very ornery. But we can work with it. And this ribbon is a little bit wider, and it does have a wire. It's wired ribbon, but not that that matters here. But we're going to be taking this ribbon, and here's the sheer pink ribbon. We're going to be taking these ribbons and making them look even more special. We're going to dovetail this ribbon. And this is something I do with most of my ribbon. Although with ribbon like this, I mean, I guess you could, but it's not really going to be noticeable. So what I did was I cut this ribbon at kind of a slant, or I didn't do that one, but I tried to cut it kind of at a slant. I wanted to make it look a little bit special instead of just cutting it straight across. This side I cut at a slant. This one I did not. I think this was the beginning of the roll. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to cut it like that. It may not really matter, but I'm going to show you what to do with this wider ribbon. Of course, you don't have to. You can do it any way you want to, but if you want to make the ends of your ribbon look a little bit special, and each of these pieces is cut to approximately 9 inches. You can measure and cut it if you want, but I just kind of eyeball it. So your pieces of mesh are going to be cut approximately 9 inches long too. So there. So what you want to do, if you want to dovetail this, it's really simple. It takes a little bit of extra time when you're preparing your ribbon, but I think it's worth it because in the end product and your finished wreath, I think it's going to look really nice. You take each piece of ribbon, fold it in half lengthwise. You don't have to crease it or anything, you just kind of hold it. Take some scissors. So here's where it's folded. You're going to take these scissors and you're just going to cut that corner. And you can cut right through that wire. And look at that. Dovetailed. Dovetailed. See, I think it looks nicer like this than just straight across. This ribbon was kind of hard to cut. It kept scooting out from my scissors. It's very slippery. So again, you just cut that corner. Just like that. And you can make the V as deep or as shallow as you like. And then you can have a lot of pieces left over. I find it's good to have a trash can nearby to put all your scraps in. It just makes cleanup easier if you have a trash can handy to put your stuff in. This piece was cut a little bit shorter than normal, but it doesn't matter. It really, in the wreath, it's not going to matter if it's not exact. It really, if you like crafts where you don't have to be precise, you're probably going to like making these wreaths because you really don't have to be super precise. And it still turns out just fine. I mean, you can be precise if you want to, but you don't have to. So I think it's worth taking the extra time. And this isn't all of my ribbon, this is just a few pieces of it. So making one of these wreaths can take anywhere from 2.5 to 4 hours. Yeah. It's fun though. It's a nice little rainy day activity, and it actually is a rainy day here today. It's been raining all day. And you can also do the same with this ribbon. It's the exact same procedure. You fold it in half lengthwise, and it's folded right there. And you just cut it, just like that. It's so simple. But yeah, I think that's skinny ribbon. I'm not gonna bother trying to dovetail that. I have dovetailed really skinny ribbon before, but this kind with this heart border thing on it, I'm not gonna do it. I just cut it at a slant and called it a day. Like, that's good enough. I actually recently went through my craft stash and gave away a bunch of stuff that I had bought for previous projects that I don't plan to use again, so I found it a good home where it will be used instead of it just sitting up there. It's easy to let your craft supplies overtake your whole world. You can end up with so much stuff. Normally I dovetail more than this, but today you're with me while I do it. Some types of ribbon you can do 2 pieces at a time. It just depends on the thickness of the ribbon and the slipperiness of it. Okay, here's my last bit. Okay. There, look at that. They kind of stick up a little bit. Nice. Now, I have some of the purple pipe cleaners and the light pink ones. They go really well with that mesh. I just took 2 of each, cut them in half. So each bundle is going to take one of these halves here. And when I'm making my bundles, especially if I have a limited amount of something, like say this ribbon right here, I don't have a lot of this ribbon, but I want it distributed equally all the way around the wreath. So what I do is I go ahead and make as many bundles as I can, incorporating the limited supplies, and then I put the bundles equally around the wreath, and then I just fill it in with the other stuff. That way it's not all clumped up in one part of the wreath, and it will just be distributed all the way around relatively equally, and it looks a little more balanced. So how do we make bundles? Well, we're going to need ribbon and we're going to need mesh. Look at how pretty this is. This is that white holographic looking mesh. This stuff is spectacular. It is so shiny. It's like a disco ball. Okay, for these bundles, in each bundle, I think we'll do 4 pieces of mesh. Now, we only have 3 colors of mesh. So, I try to mix it up a little bit. You could do each bundle in 1 color. You could mix them up. Typically, I mix them up. So, for each one, we'll have 1 of each color, and then we'll have 2 of one of the colors. And I just try to make it random as much as possible. Okay, so for the sunburst, I keep wanting to say starburst. For the sunburst technique, you're going to take your mesh, which is approximately 9 inches long, and you're going to grab these opposite corners here, gently tug it. You don't want to pull it too hard. You don't want to handle it roughly because mesh is sort of delicate. You don't want to damage it any more than you can help. So you pull it a little bit, keep that tension in there, walk your fingers and thumbs in, and then you're going to start to roll it up until you have a little bow tie like this. Now you don't want to let that go because it'll just spring back to where it was. You see how you have these little points sticking out? Yeah, they're going to be like that in the finished wreath as well. Now you don't want to let this go. So you could use a chip clip or a clothespin, or I just put it between my fingers just to hold it together like that while I go get my other piece of mesh. So here we have a piece of that purple mesh. We're going to do the same thing. And you may think it's kind of awkward having to do this with this in your hand, but really you get used to it the more you do it, and it's really not that hard. You just get used to it being there. So you take the opposite corners again. It has a nice shine to it. Look at that. So pretty. This is going to be a very shiny wreath, I think. All right, grab the opposite corners, give it a little tug, a little pull. I'm still holding it. walk your fingers in and roll it up. Little bow tie. Put it on top of your first piece. Gosh, that's going to be so sparkly. Look, this wreath is going to be so sparkly. Oh my word. That's why I was just thinking about the two colors of fabric, the two types of fabric I have for that big heart I want to put in the middle. I don't know if I want to use the shiny. I think that velvet fabric would look good because we already have all this shiny stuff. And if I use that shiny fabric, I don't know. I may try it one way and then the other to see which one I like better. Okay, let's get another piece of mesh. I have a piece of that. Oh, this one's shiny too. Look at, oh my goodness. So here's the pink mesh. And we're going to open it up. The closer it is to the end of the roll, the curlier your mesh is going to be. It's a little bit of a pain, but it's okay. You get used to it. There, pink. Since I have so much purple, I'm just going to go ahead and grab another purple. I do want the primary color in this wreath to be purple, so maybe I will do most of my bundles like this, like have these three in an extra purple, because I want a lot of purple in it. I just decided that this wreath was going to be really purple, because I want it to be. Okay, now you have these 4 mesh pieces here. Now these mesh pieces are pretty rigid. This is good quality mesh. It's very nice. This pink mesh right here is actually not the Dollar Tree mesh that I showed you. I found a little bit of a leftover roll of this Michaels mesh, but in pink. So it is going to be more rigid than the Dollar Tree mesh. It's a better quality mesh. And it's going to be a little bit thicker in your bundle. The Dollar Tree mesh is thinner and you might need more pieces of it. So now we're going to incorporate our ribbon. So you have your 4 pieces of mesh all stacked up. Take your widest piece of ribbon, put it on top, hold on to everything. I got it. And then let's do a little skinny piece on top. There. Now you're going to take one of these halves of the pipe cleaner, lay it across, you want to hold on to everything, lay it across the top, perpendicularly like that. You have your ends here. Now here's the tricky part, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. It really does. You take your ends, fold them under. Now you're going to take this whole thing right here and fold it in half. And you can squeeze it. You're not going to hurt it. This is not going to hurt anything. I kind of pinch it together right here a little bit. Now you have your ends. You want to twist them together at least 3 times. 4. And now you can let this go. There. I think this ribbon is going to look really cute in there. This white stuff here, it's curly. Okay. This wreath is going to be so shiny. Oh my word. All the bundles are going to look a lot like this. Well, until I run out of this. So since I don't have much of this wreath, this ribbon right here, I'm going to make these bundles and distribute them, like I was saying, all the way around, so it won't be just clumped up in one part. Okay, so there's our one bundle. Oh, that is so cool. I love the way that looks. Okay, now let's make another one. So again, get a piece of mesh. It's the exact same process. Pull it on the opposite sides. Hold that tension where it is, because if you let it go, it's just going to go back like that. Boing. It doesn't stay like that. It sort of does become a rhombus, doesn't it? Yeah, but pull it. And then walk your fingers in. Let your fingers do the walking. Remember that from the old telephone book commercials? Is anybody else old enough to remember the let your fingers do the walking and the yellow, the yellow pages? There used to be advertisements on TV for the yellow pages. I remember those. And you save a lot of trouble by looking up phone numbers in the yellow pages for businesses. The yellow pages were the ones in the phone book with businesses. It's amazing how quickly things become obsolete and you just forget about them. Remember TV Guide? Remember getting the new TV Guide in the mail? It was always kind of exciting to look through it. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I remember. Okay, again, sorry. I always think about that let your fingers do the walking thing when I do this part of the bundle. It's a very crunchy mesh. Makes a crunchy noise. And again, we have some pink mesh here. We're going to open that up. Pull on it a little bit. And yeah, the more you do this, the faster you go. And it gets to where you could just do this in your sleep. So easy. But so fun, because then what happens is you start going to craft stores and you start looking at all the different colors and designs of mesh, and you come up with all these new ideas. And then before you know it, you have 2 big totes full of mesh and ribbon, like I do. Oh yeah. Let's do 3 pieces on this one. So I start with my widest ribbon and then I go narrow like that, and we'll do a purple. So you put it across again, perpendicular to all this. These are going to flop all over the place, don't worry about it. And then you're going to take the ends and fold them under, fold it in half, squeeze it, pinch it, 1, 2, 3, and then let it go. Now at this point, your ribbon might be kind of bunched up like that. You can at this point, if you want to, open it up, kind of spread it out, or you can wait until you have all of it attached to your wreath form and spread it out then. Sometimes I do it at this point, sometimes I wait. I don't know, there's whichever way you want to do it is fine. So here is our second bundle, and don't worry, I'm going to show you how to attach it to the wreath form. It's so easy. You don't need hot glue or anything. We're going to be attaching it to the wreath form with these little pieces right here. That's all you need, is just the ends of your little pipe cleaner. Let's do another one. This mesh is definitely from the end of the roll. Look how curled up it is. So again, you open it up. You're going to grab these opposite corners. Let your fingers do the walking. Roll it up. Hold it in the middle. Look, it's just like a little bow tie. Alright, I've grabbed a piece of this holographic mesh. Open it up. Hold it out. Let your fingers do the walking. Put it there. Remember having to go to places and ask for job applications? I was just thinking about that the other day. My son, when he went to apply for his first job, like a year and a half ago, over a year and a half ago, my reflex was just, he wanted to apply at this place. I said, well, just go ask him for an application. He looked at me like I was nuts. He said, Mom, no, you don't do it that way. I said, since when? He said, since forever. You don't go ask for an application. You go online and apply. Like, really? I had not been paying attention. Okay. So what we're going to do is, we have these 3 colors. I don't know why it reminds me of like ice cream or something. It makes me think of like the Neapolitan ice cream, you know? Like has the 3 flavors in there. We could put these 2 purples together. I don't want to, so I'm flipping it upside down. I'm going to put this purple back here. I was talking and not paying attention. I do that a lot. Okay. Now, not every bundle is going to have ribbon. What I'm doing right now is using up this ribbon, and I'm going to be placing it around the wreath form, and then I will keep an eye on it, and I'm going to look at it, and I will decide when it has enough ribbon. and then I'll just stop adding ribbon to my bundles. And after that, my bundles will just have the mesh and no ribbon. Alright, so you lay it across there perpendicularly, fold it under, squeeze it, pinch it, 1, 2, 3, and let it go. And again, you can take your ribbon and kind of spread it out a little bit, just kind of open it up. Looks like a little flower. We have made 3 bundles, and I'm now going to show you how you add that to your wreath form. Okay, so here we have the wreath form again, which I showed you earlier, and you're going to notice that this wreath form has 4 rings that go around. And then you have these pieces on the underside that hold these together, just like this. This beige wreath form you can really see better in this format than the dark green one. Now, wreath forms like this have 2 sides, and it's kind of hard to see where you are, but the front of the wreath form is going to bow out. It's going to be convex. It's going to go like that. And the underside is concave. See how it just kind of caves in like that? Yeah. This reminds me, I am having so many flashbacks to like the 70s today for some reason. Do you remember on Sesame Street back in the 70s when the Pointer Sisters did it was the pinball machine, and it focused on different numbers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Do you remember that? And this reminds me of, there was one part of it where the pinball travels down the little track in the pinball machine. Oh my God, what is going on? I don't know. Here, I loved Sesame Street back then. It was so good. I grew up watching that, and I loved the pinball machine, and I just loved that song. I would get up and dance to that song. It was so cool. It was the grooviest song. If you've never heard it, you have to hear it. And the history behind them doing that for Sesame Street, it almost didn't happen. It's a very interesting story. That almost ended up not happening. So, yeah, it's all on, like, you can see videos about it on YouTube. Yeah, it's very interesting. All right, so, sorry. So when we attach wreath bundles to this wreath form, we're actually going to be looking at the back side. So this is the part that's concave. We're going to be working here. So the front is going to be face down for right now. And I'm going to show you how to do it. It's very easy. It's the same technique with the roll. When you make rolled bundles, same thing. And again, you don't need any hot glue or anything to do this. It's very easy. So if you're worried about, like if you're working with kids, you don't have to worry about them getting hurt with a hot glue gun. You can get the low temperature ones that, you know, might be a little bit safer. I have one that's like the surface of the sun, and it's really ridiculous. I have a low temperature one, but I bought it recently and haven't tried it yet. Okay, so with these 4 rings, we are only going to be attaching things to the 2 middle rings. We're not attaching anything to the innermost ring or the outermost ring. They're just going to hang out. But once we attach all the bundles, this is not going to show at all. So you take your little wreath. Now again, this is the front. You're going to take your little bundle, put it on the wreath form like this. Take these 2 ends, and they're going to straddle these 2 pieces. And you want to twist them together. And again, this is the back side of the wreath. You're twisting them together like this. And then you're going to have this little pointy part that sticks up. I like to bend it under so it doesn't stick out because it's very pokey. I don't like it. Now I'm going to put all 3 of these bundles together just to give you an idea of what it's going to look like. The finished wreath form, though, will have the ribbon distributed all the way around evenly. And see, the good thing is, too, if you position these and you don't like them, you can always move these bundles around any way you want to. Just untwist them and take them off and put them somewhere else. Because sometimes I do that, when I'm attaching bundles, I'm not paying attention. Like if I'm watching a movie or something and I'm not paying attention. If I end up with a whole bunch in one area and I don't like how it looks, I can just take a few out and swap them out for some other ones. Yeah, you can do that. It's super easy. Because again, they're not glued down, so you can move them around. Again, you take your bundle. This is the front of the wreath back under here. Take your pieces, straddle those two wires, and you're going to twist them together. And then you have the pointy piece sticking up. I just fold that under like that. And we have our third bundle. I'm going to bring that under here. Straddle those two middle wires like that. Twist them together. Tuck the pointy parts under. Now they're going to be kind of loose on here initially, but I'm going to flip this over and show you what it looks like. Oh, this is going to be a groovy wreath, I think. Yeah, I like the incorporation of some pink. I started to just do purple mesh and this kind of a holographic looking mesh, but then I thought, no, let's put a little bit of pink in there. It's not going to have a ton of pink, just a bit. It won't be this concentrated. Like there won't be this much pink, but there will be some. And I think the little curly heart-shaped ribbon is darling. That is so cute. I like the fact that it's curly. And then we have our mesh ribbon too, which is also pink. And our purple ribbon there. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to keep making bundles. And I'm going to add them on here and get them all distributed the way that I like. And then we're going to come back, and before we decorate it, I'm going to show you how it looks with all these pretty bundles. I have now finished creating the bundles and adding them to the wreath form. I haven't decorated it yet, but I'm going to show you how it looks so far. Here we go. Now it's not, I don't think it's your typical Valentine's Day wreath, but I really like all of the purple. And you can see, I didn't put a lot of pink in there, but I did put a little bit. And I love the little curly heart ribbon here, the skinny ribbon. I love how that looks. There's not a lot of that in here either, but I really like how it looks. And then you have all of this sort of silvery holographic mesh in here. And of course the sheer ribbon and the purple ribbon too. Look at that. I'm very happy with it. I do like it. So I didn't want to do the standard red, pink, and white, or whatever, red and pink. I just kind of saw this wreath with having a lot of purple in it, and it definitely does. And it's very sparkly. Look at that. So here's how the back looks. You can see the back, and we have the two shades of pink and the purple going all the way around. Look at that. Ooh. So as you can see, the wreath form is totally covered by the mesh and the ribbon and stuff. So you can't see it. So again, it doesn't matter what color wreath form you get, because it's not going to show anyway. So we have very simple decorations for this wreath. Like I showed you earlier, we have our carnations and our roses here. And I'm going to get those put in there. I took the styrofoam heart out of the package and I kind of looked at it and I went ahead and put it in the wreath. I really like it. I really like it just as it is in there. But when you get right up next to it, you can tell it's styrofoam, and I don't like that. So if it didn't look like styrofoam, I would be tempted just to leave it like it is. But I couldn't decide whether I wanted this. So here's what you have. If you were to take this velvety fabric and put it on there, it would look kind of like this, which I really like. And then we have this stretchy, shiny, it's like Lycra. For that, you have it like this. This piece of fabric is a little bit more narrow, but you can make it work. So I really like both of these. couldn't quite decide which I wanted to use. And I tried putting like one strip on here and one on here, but I didn't really like the way that looked. What I've ultimately decided to do is take this velvet fabric, cover it with that. And again, you're really only worried about the front of the heart because this is really all you're going to see. So I'm going to glue it down like that. And then I cut out a piece of the shiny fabric, like a little heart shape. And then once I get it attached, once I get this velvet attached to the styrofoam heart, I'm going to glue a little shiny heart cut out on the front. So I thought that would be really cute. So this is what I'm going to do. So, and then this will go into the center of the wreath. So we'll see how that turns out. I've never really done anything quite like this in a wreath before. So that's a new thing for me. So here it is again. I have this nice little wreath here. It's very lightweight. It's really great. I'm going to go ahead and decorate it and get the heart ready to go and get it in the center here. I'm just going to put it in the center and then we'll come back and see how it looks. Okay, I have the wreath all decorated. And let me tell you, if you like purple, I think you're going to like how it turned out. I had no trouble getting the hot glue to fasten this velvet to the centerpiece, and then I glued my little heart-shaped shiny bit of fabric on it right into the middle. Look at that. And then of course I added all of my flowers all the way around. You can see our carnations and our little roses. They go all the way around. And then we have our big purple heart right in the middle. I think it turned out kind of sweet. I really like it. It is definitely purple. And it doesn't necessarily have to be for Valentine's Day. I don't know. I think you can use this for whatever. But this is my Valentine's Day wreath for this year. And I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it. I know I say that a lot, but I really wasn't. But I kind of like it. I think it's sweet. And I like the big heart in the middle too. I think that's pretty cool. And yeah, it was no trouble. But then I had a lot of practice too. Cutting and hot gluing this fabric onto stuff, because I took a bunch of ornaments, just plain ornaments, and put this fabric on there for my tree because I couldn't find ornaments quite like what I wanted. So I just found this fabric here and made my own ornaments with it. And it turned out really nice. So there we have it, the Valentine's Day wreath for this year. Wow. It's different. It's definitely different. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed getting to see this little wreath here come into being. And thank you so much for being here. I hope that you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you again really soon.